Hi, in this video we will see how to restrict the actions or limit the actions that are performed by a MySQL user. We can basically limit the number of queries that he can execute per hour, the number of updates that he can perform per hour, or the number of maximum connections that he can perform in 1 hour. And also we can restrict the number of simultaneous connections that a user can have. So these are the limits. Max queries per hour, max updates per hour, max connections per hour, and max user connections, and the explanations for that. And once the set limits are reached, we see the errors. If we set the number of queries as 5 for a user, and if the user tries to execute a sixth query, then he will face an error like this: user has exceeded the maximum quotients resource, and it shows the current value. Similarly for the others. Now we can set these things while we create a new user, or for an existing user also we can set any of these things as we require. So at the time of account creation, we can say that create user username identified by and with max queries per hour 5. In this case, this user can run only 5 selects per hour, and the maximum updates per hour, he can perform 5 updates per hour, and the maximum connections per hour, he can only connect to the MySQL server 5 times within an hour, and at a time he can only have 2 concurrent connections. While he is having 2 connections, and if he tries to establish one more connection, it would throw an error. It would throw an error saying the max user connections has reached. So for an existing account, you can set any of these limits as you require. So in my case, I have set alter user username with max queries. He can only run 5 select queries within this hour. Default values for all of these attributes is 0. 0 means there is no limit, meaning they can run any number of times. So if a user is already having a limit set, and if you want to unset that limit, you can use this command alter user username with the attribute and then the value is 0, which means unlimited. Apart from these things, if you want to restrict the maximum number of user connections, you have one global variable, max user connections. If you set this, any user in the MySQL server can only have these many maximum user connections. So this is a global variable on top of the existing setting for each user account. So you can set this at the account level, or if you want something to be set at the global level, you can set this using the max user connections. Basically these counts reset every hour. At the start of every hour, these counts reset. But in case if you want to reset within the hour, then you can use these flush user resources or flush privileges, and then the limits are reset for every user. Also for the existing user, you can see the limits in the mysql.user table. So let's see that in practically. So this is my MySQL 9.3 server. I have made a connection from the workbench. I already have a user Praveen@@ localhost. So let's try to see the settings for this user. We know the limits are stored in mysql.user table. So for Praveen@@ localhost, okay, max quotients or max queries per hour is 0, meaning there is no limit. He can run any number of queries per hour. And max updates, he can only perform 2 updates per hour. And max connections, he can only have 3 connections per hour to the server. And max user connections, this is the number of the simultaneous connections. At any point, he can only have 3 simultaneous connections to the server. So let's try to modify these settings for this existing user Praveen@@ localhost, and set this max queries per hour as 3 and also max updates per hour also as 3. The command to set both things is alter user username with max queries per hour 3 and max updates per hour 3. So let's try to log in as a root user. Okay, it is done. Now let's okay, the max queries or max questions is 3, max updates per hour is 3, and the other were already 3. So let's try to open another session and try to run few queries. We have this Sequila database here. Select star from Sequila data actor. It should show some results. So we will now try to connect as a Praveen user. So okay, we only ran it once. It ran fine. Second time it ran fine. Third time, user Praveen has exceeded the max questions resource. Current value is 3, so it shows that we have reached the limit, but we have only run it twice. This is once, and this is the second time. The reason is, as soon as he connects from the MySQL, implicitly it performs a select. So if you want to see that, we can set the general log and see that. So general log is off as of now. Let's turn it on. We turned it on now. But this user will not be able to run any queries till the start of next hour. So let's try to reset the counts. To reset the counts, we can use either of these, flush user resources or flush privileges. So let's run flush user resources. So now he will be able to run, but let me try to start a new connection. That way, what is the query that it runs implicitly as soon as we connect from MySQL client, we can see that in the general log. So we just started a new connection. Once we ran it, after we started the new connection, we just ran once. Second time we ran it. Third time we are facing the error. So let's go to the general log and see. The general log is this thing, where lib MySQL in my server. So 20 thread id 20 Praveen @localhost and using socket file, and select it version underscore comment. As soon as we connect, it is running this this select. Implicitly it is running this select. That is why this is also counted against the select or the query, and it enabled us to run only twice. It did not allow us to, or it did not fetch the results when we ran for the third time. So when we ran the third time, it did not fetch the results. It said user Praveen has exceeded the max quotients. And the same goes for the connections also. User Praveen has now connected twice. So let's try to connect one more time. I think there is a film table. We'll just do some action, and okay, he has already reached the limit. So this limit is per user or per account. This is not per session. So it's not like, I connect second time, it does not allow me to run 3 more queries. So these limits are per user account. So irrespective of the number of times we connect, once the limit is reached, it does not allow us to run anything further. So now I have connected as a Praveen user thrice as of now. Let's try to connect one more time. Okay, I flushed the user resources, so let's try one more. Okay, once I ran on the first time, just to reset the counts, I ran the flush user resources, so that's why it was allowing me to perform one more connection. But then once I reached the limit of 3 connections per hour, it is not allowing me to perform one more connection. So this way you can restrict or you can limit the number of connections per hour. Also you can limit the number of selects that are run by a user per hour, and also the number of updates that are run by a user per hour in MySQL. So just for fun, let's try for performing the updates also. Okay, I will not be able to establish a connection, so I'll have to again flush the counts by running this thing. Now I will be able to. Okay, we have this Sekila actor table. Let's try to modify this first name hero2. Let's try to modify it to some other value. Okay, I cleared this session. Let me try to reconnect again. So we just ran 3 updates from hero 2 we set it to hero 1, and again the same way we did 3 updates. Let's try to perform the 4th one. So since the limit has reached, it did not allow us to run the 4th query. User Praveen has exceeded the maximum updates per hour resource. Current value is 3. So in this lab we have set the general log to on, but we need to be so cautious because when we set the general log to on, every query that hits the MySQL server would be returned to the general log. So we'll have to consider that. It's okay to be set in development or in testing, but for production, maybe for a short period of time, if required, we may have to set that. And the last thing, let's try to have a simultaneous connections and see. So this is already one connection for user Praveen. This is second one. This is the third one. Okay, so this is the first one, second and third. So second and third, and once he reached the limit, and when we try to establish a simultaneous or a concurrent connection, because already this user is having Praveen at localhost is having 3 connections as of now, and the limit is also 3. Once he is trying to establish a 4th connection, he gets the error, user has exceeded the resources. So by setting these limits, you can control the number of queries run per hour, number of updates run per hour, number of connections run per hour, and also the simultaneous or the concurrent connections for the MySQL user. And that completes the video. Thank you for watching.